Guys, I've been playing Hollow Knight SilkSong, and oh, that game fucking rules. So I am angry right now that we cannot play this game on stream. I'm about, I think, 7 or 8 hours in. I have beaten the last 2 bosses I beat were the Savage Beast Fly and I think the Moorwing. Do I have that correct? Yeah, the Moorwing from SilkSong. I'm kind of in love with this game. I think more than anything, and I've said this before, SilkSong feels like a game where the people who made it had time to make it. They didn't need to compromise. They didn't need to be like, oh shit, we have to cut this section or we have to make this section way worse. Everything in that game feels so considered and measured, and I have just been having such a great time with it. And it's funny, I've been thinking about it in terms of Shinobi. And Shinobi is also a really, really cool game. But as I was playing Shinobi, and I'd say I've played maybe 2 hours of Shinobi, I've been enjoying it, and I think Shinobi feels better than SilkSong. I think Shinobi has better controls than SilkSong. I think Shinobi, like, it controls so much smoother, and you feel like a fucking badass playing Shinobi. On top of that as well, it's also a gorgeous game. So, like, I want to give Shinobi a lot of props here, because I also kind of fell off Shinobi. And I'd kind of find myself being like, okay, I thought this game rules. Like, I thought this game was really, I thought I was having a really, really good time here, so why do I not feel compelled to go back and play it? And after a while, I started, like, messing around with in Shinobi and, like, just not attacking the enemies. And when I did, a weird thing happens in Shinobi where, like, the enemies barely attack you. Like, they don't really react to you in any meaningful way. Like, they will, if you kneel in front of an enemy in Shinobi, it will just, like, hurl star after star after star, and each one will just sail over your head, you know? And it's not that the game is bad, because I think what the game is trying to do is it wants you to feel like an invincible badass ninja, and it's designed itself around that feeling. So, like, there's no hitbox on the enemies. The enemies only hurt you when they're activating attack. Means most of the time they're just completely neutral. You can run up to them, and, like, the shit you can do so far eclipses the shit they can do, right? But what it means is, like, I had this feeling that whenever I entered a new screen with Shinobi, I was like, the enemies were just waiting for me to slaughter them. And, like, there's a time and a place for that. But when I really realized that was when I started playing SilkSong. And there's an enemy in SilkSong, and it's like the ant soldier. And every time I come across this ant soldier, they're the adult ants wearing masks. I feel like that game turns into a fucking fighting game. And it feels incredible because they have these dash attacks, they have these three hit combos, they have these, like, air dives, you know? And I got to a point where I was, like, anticipating it, and I was trying to kill it, and I was using every move in my fucking arsenal to beat this thing. And next thing, the ant does, like, a neutral jump in. Rather than going for its dive kick, it does a normal neutral jump in, lands, and then attacks me when it lands. And it completely fucked me up, and it hit me, and it felt like, oh man, I really have to think every time one of these enemies comes on screen, and I really have to be using everything in my repertoire. I have to be using my dive kicks, I have to be using my projectiles, I have to be timing my heals, and what it means is, like, these enemy encounters become so engaging. They feel like a match of Street Fighter V. But what it also means, whenever I unlock a new mechanic, that mechanic is, like, the most important thing in the world in that moment. It's like, oh my god, this mechanic might mean that I can now tip the scales on the next boss fight. So take the Savage Beast Fly. I tried to beat that thing so many times, and I really struggled with it. I really, really struggled. And then I unlocked the mechanic where you can lay traps. You can basically, like, hit up an R1. Hornet will throw out these traps that when an enemy, like, wanders into them, they'll, like, explode and shoot spikes everywhere and hit your enemy like a couple of times, and it's really satisfying to hit. And those traps, I got right to the end of the fight with the Savage Beast Fly, and then my tactic was just to throw traps everywhere and avoid it as much as possible, because with the Savage Beast Fly, it's this enemy that it's pretty easy in the beginning, but then it starts summoning smaller enemies, and your screen just becomes like a nightmare of hitboxes, or hurt boxes, I should say. And because each enemy is like a neutral hurt box, meaning any enemy in Hollow Knight, unlike Shinobi, when you walk into them, they just hit you and hurt you. You are constantly having to think about positioning. You are constantly having to think about where you're standing and how to keep yourself safe. So when the screen became that, I just filled it with traps. And it looked so fucking cool. One trap going off and then chain reactioning around the screen on all these other traps. And it felt incredible because it was something like I had thought of, you know, it was something I had figured my own way out of this problem, and it was incredible. You know, it felt like such a good experience. But on top of that as well, the currency in SilkSong is really tight. Like, you struggle to find enough money to buy anything you want to. And I love that because you are really having to weigh up those options. The game is forcing you to make interesting decisions. Whereas, like, in Shinobi, and like, I'm not trying to rag on Shinobi, I genuinely do think it's a cool game. I just think its philosophies and the reasons it's doing the things it's doing are so different from SilkSong. And for me, I'm someone who enjoys difficult games. I'm someone who enjoys being forced to make difficult decisions. I prefer SilkSong's approach so much more. The resource scarcity, the currency scarcity in SilkSong means that I am working so hard for each new thing, and each new thing is only giving me like a little bit more options, a little bit more of an advantage in a fight, but it feels so meaningful. Whereas I feel like what a lot of like modern games do is they have a kind of mechanic slop. They have like mechanic after mechanic after mechanic after mechanic, to the point that like you have so many solutions to any given problem that the solutions themselves lose meaning. Like, I would say Final Fantasy 16 feels a bit like that. I feel like with Final Fantasy 16, that you're just given layer after layer after layer of different kinds of attacks, and it's like, they stop meaning anything other than a way for you to just kind of feel cool. And I don't need to feel cool. I know I'm not fucking cool. Don't lie to me, video game. Don't pretend that that's what I am. And so I really love it then when a game is like, you know, really pushing you and asking you to work with each little mechanic you have. And I absolutely think that's what SilkSong does. There's definitely a halo effect, and people are allowing SilkSong to get away with things other games can't. The compass being a purchase is backwards design. I don't know anyone who didn't equip it. So Daryl, I actually agree with you in terms of like finding that shit really fucking irritating. But this is something I actually kind of respect about SilkSong. Okay, I want you to go back and watch some old Super Bunny Hop videos about this, but Super Bunny Hop is one of these creators who loves the idea of using a stationary map, so with no map icons, and finding your own way. I fucking hate that shit. I cannot stand it. Just show me the map, show me where I am on the map, don't make me have to figure that shit out because I have no sense of direction. But Daryl, I think what you got to acknowledge is that, like, that's how Hollow Knight 1 was. Everyone complained about it, and that's how Hollow Knight 2 is as well. This is a conscious decision from the developers, and I don't think that it's good. Like, I don't enjoy having to find my way like that, but they really want you to do that experience. They want you to get lost, and they've been outright about that in interviews. And so I think, while it's not for me, this is the experience they want to create, and they also they are consciously trying to force that. It made me stop playing Hollow Knight, but that's okay because, like, I don't think that it needs to be for everyone, you know? Have you unlocked any crest yet, John? I'd like to hear your opinion on the mechanic. I find it rather interesting. So the crest is basically a system for swapping out the basics mechanics of Hornet, so she works a bit differently. So there's one mechanic where it's the beast set, I think it's called, and with that, instead of having a heal, you can enter a mode where the damage you cause enemies causes Hornet to get her health back. And I actually really like the crest system. I think it's really, really cool. I just unlocked the Reaper set, which basically gives you, I think, a little more reach, but also slows down your attacks and gives you this very powerful, like, floating arc, and it feels really good. But so yeah, like, there's a lot I still want to, like, you know, get through. I think Hornet is a really compelling character. Like, I love Hornet. I love her sounds. I love her design. I think she has one of the slickest designs of any games character I've ever seen. It's like pulled back and so minimal to the point that if you took away any little bit of it, it wouldn't look as good, and I love that. I love her dialogue. I love the way she speaks to people. I think she has a real attitude in a way that the Vessel didn't. But like, that's okay, because the Vessel was just like a mute character or whatever. But yeah. And then, like, I love Lace. Lace is my favorite boss fight in that game so far. Basically, I think Lace might be the rival character, like kind of a Virgil-style character in Hollow Knight, and I love her. I think she's so fucking cool. And in general, I'm just kind of in love with the game and really enjoying it and cannot wait to play more.